Today, we're going to get into my list of top 5 pros and cons when downsizing. Because, of course, there's no right answer or one size fits all for everyone. So let's dig just a little bit deeper to see, is downsizing for you? I'm Andrea West. I've been a realtor since 2010. I'm a Bay Area native, and I'm a senior real estate specialist. To become a senior real estate specialist, I went through additional education and training with the National Association of Realtors to earn the designation. So I work with buyers and sellers of all ages, but when I work with seniors and their family members, I have a higher level of understanding and additional resources that I bring to the table. So I help take a little bit of that additional stress out of a big move. So whether you're a senior or a loved one or just somebody looking to buy or sell real estate in the Bay Area, I'd love to talk with you. My contact information is below. There's a QR code in my banner if you want to book a Zoom or phone call with me. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email anytime. Before we get into the pros and cons, I just want to start by saying that I know moving at any point in life is a huge decision, right? There's a lot to think about. It can be kind of overwhelming and stressful, but it can also be really fun and exciting because there's something new to look forward to. I hope that there are some positives that come out of your potential move or downsize. So give yourself the space to explore all options, right? Maybe aging in place and staying home, but maybe some of the fun and exciting things of downsizing and what that would bring. I think it's really important to make yourself a list, make your own pros and cons, make it specific to your life, and then have conversations with your loved ones, right? Because when you're thinking about a move, involving family and loved ones can be really beneficial. A lot of people find making that transition can be a lot easier. I want to share with you real quick one of my favorite downsizing clients. Sandy had this 3-bedroom house with a garage, a basement, and a yard. She was living alone. Her husband had passed away about 8 years before, and she was in her 80s. And she told me, look, there's a lot of maintenance in this house. It's overwhelming. I don't have time or energy, and it stresses me out too much to deal with it. Plus, then she had me over and showed me around, and she said, I'm not even using the rooms the way that they should be. She had one room that had this desk with piles of paper on it and a couple chairs in the corner. And she had another room with some of her husband's old stuff. And she was ready to let it go. She said, I don't need it. I want it to go to a good home. And that was so important for her. She had her eyes on the senior community center, and she was really excited about having a sense of community and having activities and support in her home and in her living environment. So we got to work. We had somebody over to help her professionally pack everything and sort things, took a lot of things to donation. We sold things on Marketplace, found good homes for a lot of her stuff. She was still able to keep a lot of her family heirlooms and all of the treasures that she wanted to take with her, but she knew she had a lot less storage space. So she had to be selective about what she wanted to keep. I think the biggest thing that helped her through it was the support that her son gave her. He didn't live super close. He lived about a 5-hour drive away, so he couldn't come over and help at the drop of a hat. But whenever I was there and there was a big decision to make, he always was so supportive and so helpful. He'd hop on a phone, he'd hop on a Zoom, and we'd talk it out. And I just love the conversations he had with his mother, because she would say, well, what do you think? And he'd give his opinion, but he'd say, but Ma, at the end of the day, this is your house. You got to make the right decision for you. And he was so great about it. And I think that really helped her feel comfortable and confident in making that decision, because she was selling a home that they'd had in the family for decades. Having the support of other family members can really make or break your moving decision and experience. So if you do have a family system that can help support you through this move, definitely tap into that, definitely utilize it, because that really is the number one thing that is going to help you through all of it. Let's get into those 5 pros and cons of downsizing. So let's start off with the pros. Number 5, less is less, right? So less space means less money spent on things like maintenance, cleaning, upkeep, utilities. If you have less space, you're paying for less. That seems pretty simple, right? It also means less stress. In my example earlier with one of my clients, she said it just overwhelmed her thinking about all the maintenance, all of the things that could go wrong with the house, and all the things that she knew the house needed. To be fair, it was a 100-year-old house. It was a craftsman. Very common for things to come up. And she'd done a lot of work on the house as it was. So she really wasn't in a position to want to do more. This is really common. And there are lots of things that go off people's radars and go unnoticed, right? They call them like almost these silent killers, so to speak, right? Things like termites, dry rot, or beetles, water damage, and fungus. All of these things can happen, and a lot of people don't even know it. It's really common. We see it a lot, especially in older homes. So when you're on the selling end, we say it's deferred maintenance. A lot of buyers get used to seeing that. Don't let that scare you when you're thinking about downsizing, because it is really common. And it's a great way to escape all of that extra headache. Less maintenance, less stress, more money in your pocket because you're spending less money. Let's get into number 4. Number 4, less space means less stuff. Now, this one, to be fair, some people can see this as a con, and it is on my con list in a way, but less space means less stuff. That means it's a good opportunity to declutter, to live more simply. A lot of people, when they do declutter and they pare down, they feel a lot better. It feels like things are more manageable. There's less stress on their plate. There's less things to look at. There's less things to manage. This is a very common phenomenon, especially in the United States. Consumerism is rampant. There's sales all the time. There's things that we think we need and we buy them and use them once, and then they get thrown in the back corner of the closet or in the garage and never seen again. So this is a great opportunity to say, hey, I don't need all of that stuff in my life anymore. Let's rehome it. Let's give it to somebody who can use it, right? Give it away or sell it if it's got value, even better. Put a little extra money in your pocket. Great opportunity when you're looking to downsize to, pare down to things that you really need and use on a frequent basis rather than just letting things accumulate and keep them around. At number 3, I'm going to say more freedom. And I say that because you've given up a couple things that really make room for freedom. Less stuff and less space means less time, energy, and money spent on things like maintenance and cleaning to really free up things that spark joy in your life. So whether that's travel, spending time with family, activities, maybe you're out playing pickleball or playing games with friends or going to the movies, whatever it is for you, hopefully you've got more time and energy to do it now because you've given up something that wasn't serving you to make room for something that really sparks joy and serves you better. Coming in at number 2, which I think is really tied with number 1, I'm going to say it's finding that new right size house. We say the term downsizing because that's the common term for it, but really I don't like it. I don't like the term downsizing because it connotates that you're giving up something bigger and better to get something smaller and less. That's just not the case. What it really means is you're giving up something that's not serving you to make room for something that does serve you and serves you well, right? It's not just about size. It's about form, function, and location. So for one of my clients, that might mean living in that senior community that's got somebody on staff 24/7, maintenance, personal trainer, a pool, and a hot tub. I mean, they've got meals together and a community shuttle downtown. It's practically a resort. And for somebody else, maybe that means they need a little more hands-on care, moving to an assisted living facility or one of those group homes. Perhaps for somebody else, that means moving into an assisted living facility with a little more care and attention for daily things. Maybe there's some cognitive decline issues or mobility issues. And having extra service and support around that is an amazing thing to have, because then you can really age happily and on your terms with the support that you need. For other people, maybe that means living with family. And for somebody else, maybe that means buying a smaller place, right? That could be a condo or a tiny house. Or maybe that means buying another house that's not even necessarily smaller, just that functions better. So when you're looking for that replacement property, a few things to keep in mind, right? Maybe you're completely able-bodied and have full mobility today, but that may or may not be the case, a few months or a few years from now. My mom, for example, when she had her knees replaced, she was still living in her 4-bedroom house, and all 4 bedrooms for her were up on the top floor, and her full bathrooms were upstairs. So she couldn't do the stairs. She ended up putting out a second bed downstairs in the living room. She had to use the downstairs half bathroom and then do sponge baths for the first week because she couldn't even do the stairs. I mean, it wasn't ideal. She made it work. But this is just one example of unforeseen things that obviously when she bought the house before, she didn't even have on her radar. When you're looking at how you're going to live in your home while you age, keep a few things in mind. Maybe your mobility issues will waver. Maybe they'll be good one day, maybe they'll be less good another. A single level home is always more ideal because it offers more function and more versatility. By not having additional stairs, it's a lot easier to get around, it's a lot easier to use the home, plus there's a lot less risk of falling. Another thing I might add, if you are moving in your senior years or planning to live in the home in your senior years, accommodation for ADA access wheelchairs and hospital beds. So 36 inches is a good rule of thumb to have for an opening to get a wheelchair in and out of a doorway or down a hallway. For example, my mom, as I've mentioned before, she has a very advanced dementia. She's at home with a caregiver and my brother, which is great, in our 4-bedroom house that I was raised in. Those 4 bedrooms are all upstairs. Those full bathrooms are all upstairs. Getting my mom upstairs is a non-starter. It's not happening. So she's downstairs in a hospital bed. Unfortunately, we had a leak on the side of the house. She had some deferred maintenance, and we have to move her out of that room because that's where the leak was. Well, guess what? All of her doorways, all of her hallways are less than 36 inches. We're in a bit of a pickle. We are literally talking about taking her out of her hospital bed, having to put her in a wheelchair for a few hours while we disassemble the hospital bed, take it apart in pieces, move it through the doorway and the hallway that are less than 36 inches, put it in the new room she's going to go be living in for a couple of months while the construction is being done, reassemble the bed, and then let her move back into that. She's not going to be happy. No one's going to be happy about this. But it is what it is. We have to make it work. So if you're looking for a new home and you think any of that is a possibility, you might as well find something that is going to be more functional for you in the long run. These are just a few tips that I would suggest to keep in mind in looking for a new house, right along with a walk-in shower or a roll-in shower, even better, right? If you can accommodate bringing your wheelchair in, that would be great. Or at least if you don't have to step into a bathtub for all of the shower bathtub situations, that's even better. If you're downsizing and not going to be in your senior years, and it really is just about giving up space, think about longevity though. Think about what you're going to want in 10 or 20 years, even if you're not accommodating mobility or cognitive decline issues. Think about what you want that function to look like. If you're downsizing, don't downsize too drastically. You don't want to cut yourself off that you don't have enough space to keep the things that you really need and want for your daily life. But also don't set yourself up to be accumulating more stuff either. Another thing I will say, keep location in mind, especially if you're thinking maybe driving is not something you want to continue doing. So think about things like public transit or senior transit options in the new area you're going to live. Maybe you can walk places, have easier access to places, things like pharmacies, doctors, banks, shopping, groceries, restaurants, cafes, all of those things, hugely important. If you can get to them on foot or by transit or some sort of community bus, that's going to put you way ahead of the game and really set you up for success in your new home. In at number 1, which I think is tied with number 2, but number 1, I'm going to say is money. And that shouldn't be surprising, right? Because your house is an asset. It's an investment that you made as well as being your home. In the year 2000, the median home sales price in the United States was $165,300. In the year 2024, so far, the median home sales price is $417,700. So just statistically speaking, home sales prices have gone up 2.5 times since the year 2000. So if you've owned your home for more than, 20 or 30 years, you're probably sitting on a pretty good chunk of change there. So downsizing can free up extra money, which means it frees up more options for what you can do. A lot of folks, especially seniors, are living on fixed incomes, retirement, pension, Social Security, whatever it is that you have that's helped funding you, chances are it might not be enough. And that's very common. Inflation's on the rise. Things cost a lot more money than, let's face it, any of us would like. So cashing in on your investment and getting rid of that notion of being house rich and cash poor, let's put that money in the bank and get it working for you now. You worked hard to get here. You worked hard for the equity in your home. You should enjoy it the way that you want to. Now, if you're still working and maybe you're not of retirement age or you're still working into your senior years, you don't want to be continuing to work for a home that maybe isn't serving you the way that you want. Maybe it's too big, maybe it's not functioning the way you need it to anymore. Working hard all day just to pay those extra bills and those extra maintenance costs, those aren't fun either. So yeah, cashing in on your investment sounds like a pretty good idea. All right, so we went over the 5 pros. Let's go over 5 cons. We're going to start in, if you are going to downsize, our number 5 potential con is it might be hard to leave your neighborhood. Because let's face it, if you're selling your house, is it going to be possible to find what you need for your life now in your same neighborhood? Maybe it is. Maybe you don't have to leave your neighborhood. That would be great. But if you're like a lot of people, maybe you live in a neighborhood that's mostly single family homes and you really want to be living in a senior community, or maybe you want to be living in a condo so that you've got more people around. You don't want to feel quite as isolated in a single family home. Or maybe all the single family homes in your neighborhood have stairs. There's a lot of reasons why maybe your neighborhood isn't where you can stay long term. So if you're thinking about a new neighborhood, hopefully you can find something that's just as good as your neighborhood, maybe even a little bit better, maybe something that offers you another advantage that your current neighborhood doesn't. And again, if you're not a senior and you're just looking to downsize, this can still be tough because maybe all the homes in your neighborhood are just too darn big. Coming in at number 4 for a con, less space means less room for entertaining. Well, entertaining and having guests over, because let's be honest, what if you have family coming to visit and now you've only got a 2-bedroom house or maybe even a 1-bedroom condo, you have nowhere to put them. Maybe family has to stay at an Airbnb or a VRBO, or maybe they're staying in a hotel, or maybe you get one of those Murphy beds and you're able to pull it out. And yeah, you're not getting quite the privacy that you had in your bigger house, but on a daily basis, maybe you're not noticing it as much. But yeah, it definitely comes up when you have guests over. And then entertaining. Say you want to have a dinner party. Maybe you have a smaller kitchen now. Maybe you don't have that big dining room. Maybe you've got one of those round tables with only 4 seats. Thinking about that when you're looking for your new home, hopefully you can find ways to offset that con. For example, if you're moving to a senior community, a lot of them might have conference rooms, rec rooms, event spaces. Same thing for a big condo community with an HOA. Maybe there's a party room, or maybe there's somewhere you can have guests over. A lot of times there's other amenities that are around. You could have a pool party out at the pool, or you could have people over and watch a movie in the theater room. Lots of fun ways to enjoy that maybe aren't in your space. If you are going to be moving into a smaller home, maybe find something with outdoor space or a patio or something and be able to utilize that in a different way that maybe you weren't using before, if that suits your lifestyle, of course. Number 3 con, and this is a hard one, to be honest with you, it's the emotional attachment. You have to give up your home. This is something that, I'm going to be honest with you, I think is one of the hardest things. Because if you've had your home for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, chances are you've had a lot of memories there. You may have raised a family there. Maybe you've had your kids there, grandkids there, pets, other relatives and friends. You know, you can look across the room and so many memories come up, holidays, birthdays, parties, all sorts of things. That's a really hard one to feel like giving up. Remembering that your home is a great place to cherish those memories, but those memories don't go away when you leave your home. Yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a hard one. But I think there are ways to help move on from being stuck in the solely emotional attachment to the home if the other reasons to downsize are of greater importance. Most people who end up downsizing do end up growing from this situation. Going through that process can be difficult. Sometimes it's good to go to a support group, meet other people who have gone through downsizing, or perhaps talk with a counselor or a therapist. There's a lot of emotions that can come up. It's incredibly common. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's a very real thing. As you work through the feelings of being emotionally attached to the home and still wanting to downsize and perhaps sell the home, there's some really great ways you can honor your house. A great thing I love to do, get a really nice photo of, maybe the front of your house or your yard or a special place there. Keep the photo and turn that into a beautiful watercolor and a nice piece of art, and you can keep that with you. That's a great way to honor your home. Take lots of pictures. Take pictures of, where the things are so that you've got them in your memory book. And I'm sure that you've got memories and photos throughout the years of the home as well that you can keep. It might be nice to make a scrapbook or a memory box filled with those memories and treasures. There's lots of things around the house you might be able to keep. Take a doorknob, right, and switch it out for something a little more new or modern. Take a little knob off, a bathroom handle or something. There's lots of fun, cute little things you can do to keep and make an art piece out of it, or just, keep it and frame it, right, and honor that. It's a beautiful way to honor your home. Keep a piece of it with you without feeling like you're giving everything up. And remember, hopefully, when you're selling your home, hopefully it's going to somebody who's going to love it just as much as you, and they're going to be able to utilize it the way that you were able to utilize it previously when you first bought it, right? That's what that home's for. You want someone else to probably have the great memories and love and joy in that home that you had as well. Coming in at number 2 on our cons list, this is a crossover from our pros list. I'm going to say less house means less storage, which means less stuff. Now, some people argue this isn't a con, this is a pro. You're downsizing, you're trimming away things that you don't need, you're getting rid of excess stuff. But it can feel like a con, and for some people it is, because let's be real, maybe you really do have a lot of stuff that you need or use on a frequent basis. That's hard. That's a hard decision to make, right? So thinking about what's in the attic or the garage or the basement or those closets, maybe you're moving to a home where you don't have any of that, right? Or maybe you have it, but smaller. So you have to trim down, you have to have less. Making a priority and recognizing a few things, right? What is serving you? What in the stuff that you're storing is serving you? And how is it serving you? Does it spark joy? Does it make you happy? Are these seasonal things, right? Is this an artificial Christmas tree or Halloween decorations that maybe get used once a year, but you keep them around because when you use them, you need them there. And the rest of the year, they sit in storage. Or maybe these are family heirlooms or mementos. They're picture books or scrapbooks. Or maybe it's your grandfather's, war medals or medals of honor, right? There could be lots of things there. Maybe it was the kids' art or their, baseball trophies or their pom-poms from cheer, or maybe it was their old musical instruments, right? There's lots of things that you might be hanging on to from your family, both past, present, and future. Maybe there's lots of things that you're hanging on to from family, from your ancestors, and from your kids. Things that you're thinking, I don't know that I want to give these up. There's lots of ways in a new home, even with limited storage, to incorporate things and store things that maybe you want to keep. It's really important to go through with a professional organization company and help you pare down the things that you don't need, preserve the things that you do need and want to keep, and then plan spatially how much room you need in your next home. Because yes, that is a con. It is a limiting factor. You are potentially setting yourself up for having to get rid of a lot of stuff. And that's going to move us into number 1. And I would say one of the number 1 cons and probably reasons people delay downsizing is because, let's be honest, time and energy is not nothing. It takes a lot out of people to be able to sit down and go through everything. And if a lot of these items in storage are personal items, right? They are family heirlooms. They are things that you cherish and have a sentimental value. That's going to be harder to go through. And that's something that you, the owner of these things, or your family members are going to have to do with you and help you. So it is important to recognize that, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. We understand that downsizing can take a while for some people, especially if they have more stuff accumulated. It's important to remember you're not going to do this overnight. It's step by step, little steps are going to make progress. So if you do decide to downsize and you're thinking this does seem overwhelming and stressful, reaching out, asking for help is the first thing to do. Meet with family members and friends. have a meeting, discuss your plans, go over what you're hoping to achieve. Hopefully they're supportive and hopefully they have time to be able to help themselves. But recognize that oftentimes it is hard for family to make time to help. Lots of people have jobs, families, other things they have to take care of, commitments. It might be hard to free up extra time to be helping another family member or loved one do some downsizing activities and going through storage. There are plenty of services that myself and my colleagues at my company have in your local area to be able to help you. There are tons of downsizing companies that will come in and help you organize. You can definitely start on your own. Start small. Start with easy things. Start with a shelf or a drawer or maybe a small closet if you're feeling ambitious, right? Put things in boxes, put things in sorting piles. Things you want to keep, things you no longer need that you can donate, things you want to sell, and then things that are of no value to anybody. Start with that. And then of the things you want to keep, go from there, right? Because goodness knows a lot of people have a big pile of things they want to keep and decide what makes them happy. How often do they use it? Are they going to continue to use it in their new home? And is it of enough importance to make a space in the new home for it? Oftentimes people are able to trim down big piles of things into much smaller piles. It's not going to be perfect and it's going to take time. But if you start with something small, something manageable, you'll feel really achieved and accomplished in the end. Then start with something else and then something else and slowly get bigger, right? When you're thinking about downsizing, it can feel overwhelming. It can be really stressful, but it can also be really exciting. So whether you're thinking about downsizing now or in a few months, it's definitely best to meet with professionals sooner than later because there's a lot to think about. I find that when I'm working with a downsizing client, often I meet them, 3 to 6 months before they're actually thinking about being out of the home. Sometimes even sooner, sometimes a year or two before, just because they have questions and they're thinking about it. It can take a while to come around to actually putting things in place to downsize. So whether you want to downsize now, 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year from now, it's really never too early to reach out because we know downsizing takes a while. It takes a lot of planning, prep, and hard work. But working with a team, especially working with an SRES realtor, is going to be invaluable in your moving process. So I would love to meet with you, offer you a free consultation. There's a QR code in the banner. Plus, you can text me, you can call me, or you can email me. My contact information is below. I will happily connect you with one of the senior real estate specialists in my company. We are all throughout North America and Canada, everywhere from the biggest urban cities to some really tiny rural areas. Hopefully we hear from you so we can connect with you about your potential downsizing needs because your goals are our business. Till next time, take care.